back to the channel. So in today's video we will discuss about top 20 Docker commands that every DevOps engineer should know. So these Docker commands are like quite crucial if you are working in DevOps or if you have started learning Docker. Okay, so every single one of the command I will show you by implementation, and also I will explain you each one of them so that you can understand Docker in a better way. As I have told before also, like learning anything inside DevOps is very helpful once you start implementing it. Okay, so every command that I'm going to show you I will explain as well as implement it on the system. Also, I would request you that the commands that I provide here, you should also implement it on your system to understand it in a better way. Okay, so with that being said, let's get started. Okay team, so let's start with the very basic command. Okay, so when a DevOps engineer is working with Docker, basically they are like working with Docker images or Docker containers. So when you want to get an image from Docker, usually you will go to Docker Hub, search for that image, and from here, like you can go here and get the command to pull it and the name and the details of it. Okay, but another better way to do that is that you can directly search Docker search command here, then providing the name of image. For example, I want details of Nginx, so I will search Nginx, click enter, and details of like multiple image Nginx images you will get here itself. Okay, for example, let's search for another image which will be Docker search httpd, which is the like HTTP Apache server project. So if I search for it, this will also give complete details about the image, like different versions of image that are existing on Docker Hub repository. So instead of going on the website, you can directly search it here and you can select the image you want. Okay, so now let's move on to the next command. So next up we have very important command, which is to get complete details about the Docker that is running on your Linux machine or whichever machine you are using. So using this small command, we can get complete details about like how many containers are there, how many containers are running, how many is in pause state. So for that we will just write the command as docker info, and as you can see we have received complete details about the Docker container as well as images, and also about the Docker running on the Linux machine. So you can see 2 containers are there, out of which 1 is running, 0 is in pause state, and 1 has been stopped. And also there are 2 images. Also there are other details like CPU, then total memory, architecture, OS type, and other details. Okay, just to confirm that these details are correct, we can run a command which is docker images, and you can see there are 2 currently images exist. Okay, then we can run docker ps to see number of like running containers. So this is a very good command to get detailed info about the Docker as well as the images and containers, and also about the machine on which Docker is running. Okay, so next up we have a command to get the image on our system. So like basically we will be pulling the images. For example, let's say that I want to have Node.js images on my system, so I can run the command as docker pull, then the name of the image I want. So in my case I want Node. Okay, so if I just click enter, it will fetch the latest one. Okay, in case I don't want the latest one and I want a specific version, that also we can define with the help of tag. So let me show you that as well. Once let it download. Okay, you can see it is like pulling, then pulling, then downloading, and then it is extracting. Okay, yeah, so you can see like the image has been pulled. So let's say I want a specific version of the image, so I can run the command as docker pull, then node is the name of the image, and specific version, then we can put colon and provide a tag. For example, I want a version of 20-buster, which is a specific tag. Okay, click enter, and you can see it just started fetching the like 20-buster version of the Node.js image. Okay, now as I told before also, to view the images you can run the command as docker images, and all the images that are currently existing on your local machine, that will be visible. So let me show you that as well. If I run the command as docker images, you can see there are 2 versions of Node, one is 20-buster and one is latest. So in this way you can get the like you can pull an image from Docker Hub repository. Okay, So next up we have docker run command, which is basically used for using a Docker image and creating a container. For example, let's say we want to create a container of SonarQube. Okay, so for that, let's say, and also let's say we are not having the SonarQube image on our local machine. So if you are running the command as docker run, so it will initially search for the machine in the local system. If it does not exist there, then it will directly pull it from the Docker Hub repository and then create a container with that. So let's run the command as docker run for running the container, and then -d. -d is like optional, but if you are using -d, that means that the container will be running in detached mode. In case if you omit it, then all the logs, details and everything will be coming on screen, which becomes little bit messy. So I don't want that. So docker run -d, then _name. This name is basically the name of the container you want. So I will be name it as sonar-test, then -p, which is used for mentioning the host port and the container port. Host port is the port that will be through which we will access the container on our browser, and container port is the port that will be open inside the container. Okay, so I will put both the details as 9000, and next we need to provide the name of the SonarQube or whichever image we want to fetch. So in my case it will be SonarQube, SonarQube. Then I want LTS community version, then yeah, community. You can write like that and click enter. So you can see initially it was trying to find out the image on local machine. Since it was not existing there, it started pulling it from Docker Hub repository. Once the pulling is complete, it will make the container created. Okay, so you can see downloaded near version, and this specific code you are seeing, that means our container has been created. To test it if it is created or not, we can try to access it. So I will copy the public IP address of the machine on which container is there, then colon, then host port is 9000. We will put it, click enter, and you can see SonarQube is starting. That means our container is up and running fine. Okay, so in this way you can run a container, container using a Docker image. Okay, now let's move on to the next command. Okay, so next up we have docker logs command, which will help you get the logs of a container. Okay, so before that, let's run the command to view the containers, docker ps. So as you can see, as of now 2 containers are running, and let's say that we want to get the logs of a SonarQube container. So how we can do that? So for that we can run the command as docker logs, then we can provide the container ID. So in this case, SonarQube case, this is the container ID. We can just paste it. Okay, and you can see these are the logs that is running in the backend of SonarQube container. There's lots of details, whatever is happening, whatever has happened, everything is here as per the time frame. So this is useful in the case where SonarQube is already running but facing some issue. So you can just open the logs and check out what exactly is the issue going on. As of now you can see that SonarQube is operational. That means everything is running fine. Okay, also in case you want to see the details of another container, which is nginx, so for that also we can run the command similar to the previous one, which is docker logs, then copy paste the container ID. Okay, so for in case of nginx, this is just very small logs that is happening in backend. Okay, now let's move on to the next command. Okay, so next up we have docker history command, which is useful when you want to see history of an image, when a container was created, whatever commands were run, whatever happened in history with that image, you can see that. Okay, so first of all, let me run commands for listing the images. So these are the images, as you can see. Let's try to get the history of SonarQube image. So we can run the command as docker history, then image name, which is SonarQube LTS-community, click enter. and you can see complete detail about the image. Size is 349 MB, and these were the commands ran. Okay, so this is also like really good in case you want to see the details of detailed history of an image, whatever commands ran, whatever the size and everything else. So you can use this command. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Okay, so next up we have a command to view containers. Okay, let me just show you. It is docker ps. If you run the command as docker ps, it will show you the container that is currently in running status and a little bit details about it, like when it was created, what is its status, like how long it's been up and running, what are its ports, and basically the names also. Okay, so docker ps running containers. In case if I run the command as docker ps -a, that means running or not running, currently stopped or something, every container that was created or is running anything, details of every container will be visible. As you can see, as of now only 2 are in running status, and the third one has exited like 46 minutes ago. Okay, and also the one that existed, its port details is not visible. So using the command docker ps and docker ps -a, you can get the details of a container. Next up we have a command that will let us go inside backend of a container. So for example, if I run the command as docker ps, you can see 2 containers are running as of now, and I want to run some commands on backend of SonarQube. Okay, so what we can do in that case, we can run the command as docker exec. Okay, which is exec is like used for connecting you to a terminal, which will let you run commands or instructions on the whatever container is running. Okay, so command goes like this: docker exec -it. -it basically means interactive terminal, and this is what lets you connect to a container backend through like shell or bash, whatever you define. Okay, so -it, then the name of the container, so which in our case is sonar-test, and then we will define bin/bash or sh, whatever you want, whichever terminal you want to use. Okay, so I click enter, and you can see, if I click, yeah, you can see as of now currently we are inside opt directory of SonarQube container. Okay, and username is SonarQube, and @ is the ID of the container image. Okay, so if I run ls command, you can see these are the current folders inside which these are the current directory inside the container. Okay, if I go to this, I want to show you plugins. Yeah, so you can see there is a folder plugins, which is basically used for whatever, if you want to install a new plugin or jar file, you can copy the jar file here and then restart your SonarQube, plugin will be installed. So these are the kind of tasks that if you want to perform on backend on the container, you can go through using exec command. You can go inside it and run your commands. So this is quite useful. Now let's move on to the next command. Okay, so next up we have kill versus stop command. Okay, so when a container is running and you want to close it or stop it, you can use either of 2 commands, which is docker kill or docker stop. The main difference between them is docker stop will terminate the container gracefully or by following the procedure, and slowly it will stop the container. But when you run the docker kill command for stopping a container, without anything, it will instantly terminate that container and stop it. Okay, so let's see how many. Yeah, so as of now 3 containers we are running, out of which 2 are of SonarQube LTS community, and both are like this. So first one name is sonar test, second one is sonar test 2. Okay, so let me run docker stop command for one of them as of now. Okay, so container ID for the first one is this one. Copy this, and here we will paste it, docker stop, and let's see how much time. Yeah, it stopped. And if I run docker kill command for another SonarQube container, let's see how much time does it take. Instantly. It might not be noticeable, but actually docker kill command stopped a little faster than docker stop command. Okay, so now you know the difference, and now you know like which one to use when you want to like stop terminate a container instantly or like gracefully, whichever case you know which one to use. Okay, now let's move on to the next command. Okay, so next up we have a very important command related to network in Docker. So you may know that there are certain networks that are ongoing in background inside Docker, which are used for like communications for containers and all. So to view like whatever networks is existing as of now, we can run the command as docker network ls, and you can see as of now like three networks are there, out of which like two of which have the like driver and name mentioned, but third one is like mentioned as null. Okay, but in case you want to create a new network, you can run commands like docker create network, then provide a name. Okay, and in case like you want to get more details about a network, you can run the command as docker inspect docker network, because we are like inspecting a network. So docker network, then inspect and the name of the network. So let's say we want details about this bridge network, click enter, and details about like complete details about that network, about subnet gateway and other information you can get here. As of now, like even I'm not aware about what exactly these information are. Okay, IPv4 address and IPv6 address are there. So other details whatever is required, you can use that command to inspect as well as to view how many network are running in the background inside your Docker container. You can see by using this command. Okay, so next up we have a very important command, which is to push an image. Okay, so you know like we use Docker file to build an image, and let's say that we have already built an image. Now we want to push that image inside a Docker repository. Okay, so for that, first of all, let me show you. I am also having one Docker repository, which is a public one. If I go to my profile, here you can see these are my repositories. Okay, several of them are there. So what I'm going to do now, let's see if I have a hello world image, Docker images. So you can see there is hello world image. Okay, so I will tag that image again, and then I will try to push it on my repository. Okay, so for that I can run the command as docker tag, image name is hello-world, and new name will be username of my repository, and slash let's say new repo name will be new dash repo, and tag will be 1. Okay, let's try to push it, enter. Okay, it's like tagging is done. So if I run docker images, you can see there is new image available, and now we should try to push it. Okay, so when we say like we want to push an image directly, we cannot push it. First we need to connect to our repository. So for that we can run the command as docker login. Okay, simply type docker login if you are not providing, in case like you are using a private repository, you can run the command as you can directly provide the URL after docker login, and it will try to connect to that URL. But in my case, I am having a public Docker Hub repository, so I can just run the command as docker login, click enter. Now it is asking for username, so I will provide the username as this one, password, and enter. Okay, so login succeeded. Now let's try to push our image, which will be docker push, and image is slash new dash repo :1, enter. You can see it is started preparing for the push, and you can see the little bit detail that from where that image was created. Okay, that is from library/hello world. So size 5 to 5 KB. Now let's try to view that image in our repository. If I refresh it, Okay, so you can see updated a few seconds ago, and this is the new repo that is created and tag was 1. You can see tag 1 is visible. So in this way, like, you can connect to Docker repository and push your own image. Okay, now let's move on to the next command. Okay, so next up we have a command to delete Docker images as well as container. So first of all, I will run the command to view the images, which is Docker images. So you can see as of now there are like 4 or 5 Docker images visible. So in case you want to delete any one of them, you can run the command as docker rmi, which stands for remove images, and then we can either provide the name of the image or the image ID. Okay, so let's say for hello world, we can copy the image ID, paste it here, click enter, and you can see it untagged the image first, then it deleted it. And if I run the command docker images again, you can see hello world is gone. Similarly, for Docker containers, we can first run the command as docker ps. You can see as of now one container is running, which is nginx. Okay, in case I want to delete it first, I need to stop it. Okay, before that, let me run one command, docker ps -a. Okay, so here if you see, total 4 like container IDs are available. First one is nginx, and its container name is friendly beaver. Also last one is also nginx, which I closed like an hour ago. Okay, so you can see like there are 4 containers, out of which 3 are running and 3 are stopped and 1 is running. In case I want to delete any container running or not running, I need to first stop it. Okay, so container which are exited already stopped. Okay, so let me stop the container which is running. Write the command as docker stop and the container ID. So container ID for this one is, copy this here, paste it, and it docker stop. Okay, sorry, the command I wrote it 2 times. Let me remove this, click enter. Yeah, container is stopped. In case I want to, now we can delete it, so we can run the command as docker rm, and like whichever container ID I am providing here, it will delete it. If I provide 1, then space, then again the second one, paste it here, these 2 should be gone. If I run the command as docker ps -a, you can see only 2 container details are available, because rest 2 we have already deleted. So in this way you can delete container images and Docker containers. Now let's move on to the next command. Okay, so next up we have a command to rename our Docker container. So if I run the command as docker ps, you can see as of now one container is running whose name is S1, capital S1. Let's say that I want to rename this container for like ease, so I can run the command as docker rename, and then we can like provide the details like previous container name, which is capital S1, and the new container name. So let's say I want sonar dash new name. Okay, so if I run enter, and now if we run the docker ps command, you can see the new name for the same container has changed, which is sonar new name. Okay, so this is useful in case you want to like refer the container somewhere through name. Okay, so in this way like you can rename the container. Now let's move on to the next command. Okay team, so next up we have a command to suspend all the processes that are running inside a container. So this command is known as docker pause. Also note down that this command won't stop the container but suspend all the process that is running inside the container. So let's run the command as docker pause, then the name of container, which is sonar new name, which we just have changed, and you can see it was successful. It just gave the name of the container. That means like it has stopped all the process running inside the container. Okay, now let's move on to the next option. Okay, so once we run the command as docker pause, next like in case we want to like again start those process, we can simply run the command as docker unpause, and then again the container name sonar dash new name. Okay, command let me just make it correct. Yeah, so process whatever like halted with the previous command, they have just started again. Okay, confirmation we can see when the name is popping up as sonar new name, which is the container name. Okay, so using this command we can start again those process which were running in the background. Okay, so pause, unpause are those two commands which can be used to suspend and restart again the process running inside the container. Okay, so next up we have a command to see ports associated with a specific container. So we can run the command as docker ps to see the container. So we have sonar new name. Okay, so to see the ports we can run the command as docker port, then the name of container sonar new name, and you can see host port and container port, only two ports are associated at this point. So you can see both are 9000, and using this command we can see the detail whichever port is associated with that container. Okay, so this command is also quite useful. Okay, so next up we have a command to see changes happening over a container. Okay, so the command goes like docker diff, then the container name. Okay, so in our case it is sonar dash new name. Now you can see lots of things just came out. Okay, and also in front of it like A is written. Okay, if I scroll down you will see some other letter, C is written. Okay, and somewhere if possible you might see D also. Okay, D is not there. So basically what it denotes, C means like changes happened, A means like this specific directory was added. Okay, in case it was D also written, that means this directory was deleted. Okay, so A, C and D, these three letters will like showcase whatever actions have been performed on directories or files inside that container. Okay, so this is this command is also a little bit like history, but in a different way, like just specific to the folders and files inside that container. Okay, so this command also is quite useful, docker diff. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay team, so next up we have a very important command which will let you know all the processes running inside container. So for that we can run the command. First of all, let's view the container. So one container as of now we are having. So to view the process inside container, we can run the command as docker top is a very common command in Linux also. So docker top, and then we can provide the container ID or container name. So let's provide container ID, paste it, click enter. So as you can see, usually we run this command inside Linux server or Linux machine. Inside that we get details like PID, PPID, then start time, then time, CMD, okay, and UID. So similarly for inside container also we can see those things. Okay, so in case you are interested to see the process running or processes which are causing issues or something, you can view everything and all the process, including random process or anything. You can see all those by running this docker top command. Okay, so next up we have a command to view live ongoing details about memory usage and all about a container. Okay, so this command is known as docker stats. So if I run the command as docker stats, and you can see here complete detail about memory usage, the limit memory percentage, network input output, block input output, PIDs, CPU percentage, everything is as a live version of it is coming on the screen. Okay, now this I have run not specific to any container, but still since there is only one container is there, so it is giving details about that. In case you want to use it on a specific container, you can run the command as docker stats, then hyphen container ID or container name, and it will give details about that specific container. Okay, so this is also quite useful. To exit from it, you can just press Ctrl C and you will be out of it. So that's pretty nice. Now let's move on to the last command. Okay team, so last command we have is to delete everything. So before that, let me run the docker ps and docker images. Okay, now basically to delete an unreferenced or unused image or like a container, we can run a command known as prune command. Okay, so if I run as docker system prune, click enter. Now see here, you can see it is asking like what will happen. This will remove all stopped containers, all networks not used by at least one container, all dangling images, all dangling build cache. Okay, if I put Y for yes, and you can see there are two containers which were exited or stopped, deleted, and total reclaimed space was 338.1 MB. Okay, so this is also quite useful command. Also this command can be used like specifically with image also. You can run the command as docker prune images, okay, or docker prune containers, like that. So it will specifically focus on that space, like docker or container. Okay, also you can use it with volumes, networks, and everything else. But since I ran docker system prune, that means images, container, and everything else also, which is like not being used or is like dangling. Okay, so that's all for today's video, and I hope this video was useful. In case it was, then you can give it a like. If you are new on my channel, then you can subscribe also.